It's the 5th of November 1979. 15-year-old Martin is heading home from school. A witness tells police he sees Martin being led onto a train by a tall, blonde man in his 30s. He's holding Martin by the scruff of his neck, and the boy is clearly distressed. They only go one stop. They get off here at Earl's Court. And as they're heading out through the station, the man is overheard to say to Martin, "Don't try to run." The only problem is that witness only comes forward weeks later when he sees the boy's face on the TV news. And of course, by that time, it's too late. The trail's cold, and young Martin is never seen again. In the 36 years since your brother disappeared, has there ever been any leads, any information?
No.
Has his body ever been found?
No. No, it's like he was abducted by aliens.
The police investigation into Martin's disappearance was at best inept. One conversation with the officer in charge has stuck with Kevin.
I just said to him that I think he's been taken by someone high up in, I don't know, establishment, whether it's a businessman or an official of some sort.
And what did that senior policeman say to you?
He said to me, "You keep saying things like that, you could get hurt."
That sounds like a threat.
Well, I was like, almost fell off my chair at 17. But my mum and my dad and me, that was it. It was over with the police.
Now, police have reopened the case, also acknowledging they have credible evidence of murders committed by the Westminster paedophile ring.
These are children. These were children at the time, and they were abused because they were children, because you could get away with it.
Former policemen too, like Kelvin Ashby, are now revealing the extent of the cover-up, how their own investigations of politicians and government officials were stopped in their tracks on orders from above.
My immediate boss told me that the decision had been made higher up the chain.
Ashby was a detective inspector when he began investigating allegations that a prominent Labour MP, Greville Jenner, now a Lord, was sexually abusing a 12-year-old boy taken from a local children's home. Did you want to arrest Jenner?
Yes, definitely.
Were you stopped from arresting Jenner?
Yes.
What was it about the boy's story that made you think it was credible?
Well, basically, he said that he'd been collected from the children's home many, many times.
By Jenner?
By Jenner in his car. And that was, we backed that up.
Lord Jenner, who has denied all the allegations, has not yet been charged. But the Crown Prosecution Service has admitted it had enough evidence to prosecute Jenner all along for the sexual abuse of at least 9 children. But it may be too late. The very busy Baron Jenner of Braunstone now claims to be suffering from dementia. And yet he's voted in the House of Lords on 203 occasions since he was diagnosed.
Yeah, and again, it's dual standards, isn't it?
So if he's good enough to vote, he's good enough to stand trial?
Yeah, it still sticks in the craw.
I was about to say, it still matters to you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
What's been going through your head?
What might have been, basically, for these kids' sake.
Have you ever met this man? We asked Richard Kerr to identify his abusers from photographs. What about this man?
Yes.
Okay, he's a former member of Parliament.
Yeah, I know. I mean, everybody, yes. In Manchester. Cyril Smith, or Smithy.
Cyril Smith was a prominent member of Parliament whose sexual abuse of children over a period of decades was so rampant that the Crown Prosecution Service has now formally admitted it was negligent in failing to prosecute him. Richard Kerr knew him intimately.
He's got a scar down there.
Did he rape you?
He didn't rape, we just had oral sex. He oral sexed me.
He was a notorious pedophile, wasn't he?
He was a hateful and snake. This man was a snake in the grass.
Coming up, from politicians to spies. Do you know this man?
I know this man.
Striking at the heart of MI6.
He's the one who carried the Brian book.
Confronting a member of the secret pedophile ring.
If they were traumatised, they wouldn't have gone along.
You see, that's another lie that pedophiles spin.
I don't think we should talk in this emotive fashion.
That's next on 60 Minutes. If anyone in Westminster's halls of power might have been tempted to turn a blind eye, it would be Zac Goldsmith, a Conservative MP from an upper crust establishment background. But it was Goldsmith who led the charge for a full judicial inquiry into the allegations.
When I first was approached by people 5-6 years ago, and my initial instinct was to dismiss this stuff as madness, as conspiracy wackos, I know that many of the things that I would have been inclined to dismiss 5-6 years ago have since turned out to be true.
What sort of things were people saying to you when they rang your electorate office and told you that they'd been abused?
These were people who themselves had allegedly experienced very serious abuse, including rape. These were children they were children who were associated with a care home in my constituency, which was effectively mined by this paedophile ring, people taken to a guest house nearby, also in my constituency.
Part of your call was to investigate why, time and time again, allegations, very serious allegations of sexual abuse of children, were ignored. Mm-hmm. Is it a conspiracy or is it a stuff-up?
I would love to believe that it was a stuff-up, but there were just too many of them. Key evidence not being picked up, key trails not being followed, key questions not being answered, bungled police operations and investigations stopping suspiciously. And I don't believe that you can explain all of those as stuff-ups. I think there has to be an element of cover-up or conspiracy, call it what you want.
You've got this group of rich, powerful toffs who are basically raping, abusing and possibly even murdering poor, underprivileged young children.
These are people who are at the bottom of society's ladder, and therefore they had nowhere to go. And as a consequence of the abuse, their lives fell apart. So they became people whose evidence would never be credible in a court of law.
Tell me what happened in the forest. How many people were participating in these abusive ceremonies?
Yeah, there would be about 7 or 8 men each time. On occasion, there were police there.
Police?
Yeah, sometimes in uniform, but mainly not.
Did any of the children ever run away?
Yeah, I did. I tried.
What happened?
There was a police officer there, and he caught up with me and carried me back.
Well, you can understand, Esther. I mean, to me, this sounds incredible. A police officer, a person trusted to enforce the law, forcibly dragging a little girl back to be sexually abused?
There's a lot I don't understand about why they would do that. I think it's all about power. You know, they got pleasure from proving that they could do what they want, when they want, and people couldn't do anything about that.
Were there any people that you've now been able to identify?
Yeah, I've now named 2. Obviously, at the time I didn't know who they were and what they did. You know, I had my own names.
What were your names?
One guy was the piano man, and the other guy was the Lord.
So why did you call the piano man the piano man?
Because it was one of his interests, I suppose. He'd like to watch me play the piano a lot.
I am Mr. Baker. I'm age 11 and I'm going to play for you Allegro in E.
And why did you call the other man the Lord?
Because I thought he was God. I'd heard the word Lord when other people sort of referred to him.
What did he do to you?
With him, it was everything. It went to full rapes. I wasn't a person. I was an object.
I feel dreadful asking you these questions, but you're talking about penetrative sexual intercourse as a young girl?
Yeah.
What has this done to you emotionally? I mean, you obviously bottled it up for so long.
It's been really hard. For quite a lot of those years, I've been really quite ill. I drank a lot. I thought that would dull the memories.
Did it?
No. I've got memories of the rapes. Seeing those men's faces above me. And I think the worst is with the nightmares. Because in those I'm always trying to get away and I can't.
Why do you feel so strongly that you need to tell your story?
You know, I was quiet for so long, and that damaged me so much, being quiet. And I think other people need to be aware that by speaking out, you do start to get a sense of freedom.
Britain's biggest ever scandal is about to explode.
I just said to him,
they were powerful people. They were also people who very obviously had formed a group and enjoyed having sex with young children.
This man, we'll call Darren, was 15 and in a care home when he met Peter Wrighton, a senior advisor to the government on child development, and secretly a member of the Pedophile Information Exchange, a group campaigning to lower the age of consent for child sex. In this home video, Wrighton can be seen grooming teenage boys, encouraging them to drink alcohol and engage in sexually suggestive behaviour. Wrighton would supply boys like Darren to VIPs at Dolphin Square.
We would be basically told who to go and talk to and what to do and with which person.
One of those men, also named by other witnesses we've spoken to, was Leon Britton, the former British Home Secretary. One of the most powerful men in the land, Leon Britton should have been prosecuting pedophiles. Instead, according to Darren and other witnesses, he was one of them.
He liked boys to dress in women's underwear and then to be in a room alone and discover you in women's underwear and punish you for wearing the underwear.
A member of Margaret Thatcher's cabinet?
Yes.
Raping children?
Yes.